Okay, without further ado, we now call upon the third speaker from the opposition to some of the case.
By admitting that after receiving a fixed wage from their working spouses and finding that this fixed wage is not sufficient to cover whatever they need, and after that happens, by suggesting that they can request for more money from their working spouses, suggests to me that the working spouses are willing in the first place to give you something on top of that fixed wage. And when they're willing to give you something on top of that fixed wage, means that they give the fixed wage willingly. And when they give the fixed wage willingly, what's the point of implementing the law in the first place? We believe that the status quo, which is that husbands or working wives give their housewives or house husbands the necessary money as is needed, works just fine. Because by suggesting that they give them extra money, it shows that they're willing to give them money in the first place. And if they're willing to give them money, what's the point of implementing this? Yes, sir.
Imagine if you are the one who is sitting at home and then your wife works. Are you trying to say it's okay or is it right for you to actually suffer like that?
Sir,
is that correct?
I don't understand your side, sir. Okay, you're saying that if you give them a fixed wage, it is not enough. They can ask for more, we will give them more. By suggesting that we'll give them more, suggest that we will give them in the first place. So that means that we're giving them money in the first place. When you see that they won't receive a single cent for their hard labor of taking care of the children, and mopping the floor, and sweeping the floor, and making the beds, you're being ridiculous. How many families in this country, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that we're here is a testament to the fact that family institutions are well run enough to produce well-rounded individuals like us. And that's why we don't see the problem. Wives or housewives or house husbands, deprived of food and clothing and entertainment and escort services and movies and clothes. That's not happening right now in the country. What's happening right now is that a vast majority of husbands and wives with one working spouse, one house husband or housewife are being very cooperative in the sense that the housewives and house husbands receive enough money as is needed from their working spouses.
Okay, you think that is fine, basically. Are you trying to deny the fact that it will further consolidate the marriage? Are you trying to say our mechanism will eventually from positive return to negative? Are you trying to say that?
Sir, what is the point of implementing this mechanism in the first place if you cannot show us a very direct link between the consolidation of the family institution and the giving of a fixed wage? By giving a fixed wage, how do you ensure the consolidation of the family institution? Right now in Malaysia, we see that the vast majority of women and men who stay at home and look after the kids, I don't think many men know. Let's just talk about women then. The vast majority of housewives who stay at home and look at the kids, they get money from their husbands as needed. By implementing a fixed wage, what do you really achieve? You make the husbands who are working not happy because the government is imposing itself on them by asking them to give a fixed wage to their housewives or house husbands. Moving on to your points about appreciation and not being selfish and rights and hunger, we completely agree with you. Of course, housewives and house husbands need to be appreciated. Of course, working spouses shouldn't be selfish. Of course, housewives and house husbands should have rights. And what we see right now is that under the status quo, what is happening? What's happening is that they are being given these rights. They're not being deprived. They're being given what is needed, as is needed. So what is the point of implementing a fixed wage, then adding on to that wage, when they're already given as much as is needed? What's the point? I don't see the point. Moving on to your contention that a fixed wage would enhance the family institution and consolidate the family institution and make the other side feel appreciated. Again, we don't see this happening. When you give the housewife or house husband a fixed wage, it does nothing to consolidate the family institution because as the status quo is right now, the other side is already being appreciated when, you know, my mom asked, sorry for the personal example, when a housewife asks her husband to buy her a handbag, for example, to buy her a pair of shoes, as long as that request remains reasonable, I don't think that a loving husband who applies the principles of what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine would deprive her of that right, much less deprive her of the money to buy food. Let's not even talk about food. How many white housewives do you see in this country going hungry? If that really is the case, and it's a tiny minority of the housewives in this country, we've already proposed a solution, which is you go to organizations or even government bodies or even the police to report these cases, because this is actually a form of domestic abuse which is completely unrelated to this. They've talked about how reporting it to organizations is actually curing the fight, whereas their proposal of having a fixed wage is avoiding the fight at the very beginning. We say there is no fight. Where is the fight when housewives receive as much money as is needed from their husbands? They have not proven to us that there is a vast majority of housewives and house husbands that don't receive enough money from their husbands so that they go cold and hungry in the streets. That's not happening. So obviously, this is not needed at all. Finally, the responsibility of the government, my final point. It is the responsibility of the government to protect the people, but we believe that it is not the responsibility of the government to impose itself upon families by imposing a law that forces working spouses to give their housewives and house husbands a fixed wage, because it is completely unnecessary. Why are you imposing this law when there is no need for it in the first place, when there is no vast majority of people going hungry in the street? This is why we believe it's completely unneeded, and with that, I proudly oppose. Thank you.